like what you do for a living? These things you see?
You have to wear blinders sometimes. Most times.
Detective William Somerset is looking for a way out.
You're retiring. 6 more days and you're all the way gone.
So how long have you lived here?
Too long.
Detective David Mills is looking for a way in.
We'll be spending every waking hour together from now until the time I leave. I'll show you who your friends and enemies are.
Look, I've worked homicide 5 years. Not here.
Now,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a homicide.
they're caught in a game.
No fingerprints and no witnesses of any kind.
Nope.
About the only thing we know about that guy right now is he's totally insane.
Where the price of sin is death.
There are 7 deadly sins. Gluttony,
You're going to come take a look at this.
greed,
No one touches anything.
sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy. 7. You can expect 5 more of these.
Body was found on Tuesday morning.
I hate this city.
We're gonna get who did this.
This will be the very definition of swift justice.
There are 2 more bodies, 2 more victims.
This guy's methodical, exacting, and worst of all, patient.
He's laughing at us.
He had a gun.
He's 2 murders away from completing his masterpiece.
Let's finish it.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow.
7. When retiring police detective William Somerset tackles a final case with the aid of newly transferred David Mills, they discover a number of elaborate and grisly murders. They soon realise that they are dealing with a serial killer who is targeting people he thinks represent one of the deadly 7 sins. Somerset also befriends Mills's wife, Tracy, who is pregnant and afraid to raise a child in the crime-riddled city. This film is a mixture between action, thriller and horror because of all these scenes of decomposing bodies and blood. It combines these conventions to make a film which has a lot of suspense and action, causing for the audience to be excited and puts them on the edge of their seat for quite a bit of the movie. The trailer causes for suspense, like for example at the start when a metronome has started and it starts ticking. This causes the audience to connote that this is like a human heartbeat, and also sets the pace of the movie to start, so it starts off slow. And the same image of the metronome ticking also gets reused multiple times in the trailer, giving the audience a hint that it is the film, like the theme of like time in the film, like how detectives have to find the killer before he kills again, and the metronome like resembles the heart, so when it runs out it means like when a person dies, and the detectives have to like quickly find the killer before the next victim. The heart stops, and that's when like the metronome stops. And another way the trailer increases suspense is the really deep tone of the narrator. This makes it creepy and makes you feel that the narrator is like in the room with you, causing for like a dramatic effects, because narrator you like connote that he might be the murderer, or it just gives that a creepy vibe that makes you feel very like creeped out. And like another way the trailer increases suspense is the lighting, which is also like very dark, creating a very murky atmosphere, so it's hard to see in like greater detail. Like when the police pull the cover over off the dead body, and the flashlights are used as lighting because it makes it more suspense, because the flashlights do not like stay still, causing the audience to the audience's eyes to follow it, and so you like see almost every part of the decomposing dead body, which creates fear, which is part of like the horror genre. and because the body's so mutilated, it creates like disgust, and it makes you want to, like, the audience want to throw up. And the use of the narrator helps the audience understand the basic plot without giving too much away, without giving too many spoilers away. And the narrator's voice is also very deep in tone and also rasping, and this is to make it creepy, increase the suspense, and also makes the trailer darker, as it makes the audience connote that the narrator is like right behind them, so you got the feeling like you got a ghost behind you, but it's like if you turn around, you like no, there's no one there. So and that's the way it like creates a lot more suspense. Also, the use of fast camera shots creates suspense, as you do not have a clear understanding of like what is happening, because everything is, it's like a blur. This creates confusion, makes you pay more attention to the trailer, and watch it again to see if you can see anything you missed out the first time you watched it. So increases the rewatchability, playability of the trailer. Another thing I like about the trailer is the way it portrays the protagonist as the antagonist as not being perfect. Him being not a perfect the protagonist means that it can connect to the audience a lot more, because the audience can connect with him, making the film a lot more relatable. You can connote that he is not perfect from the trailer because you see him holding his head like down in the car. This can connote that he's going through some tough times in his life, like how he is trying to catch a killer, but is coming into great difficulty, like how ordinary people every day do, and this will make people more likely to watch the film. Another thing that creates suspense is the way at the end of the trailer you can see the 7 sins appear on screen repeatedly. This spreads the message of the trailer in big red font, which connotes like blood, which like links to the plot of 7 Deadly Sins, how a killer's killing everyone, and it's got blood on his hands because of all the deaths that he is causing, and the blood emphasizes how he is like killing not for like joy, but because what he believes in is his faith. The plot of the story can also be an inspiration for me, because it has all the right conventions for a thriller movie to be successful, such as the main protagonist, who is a young, optimistic detective, and also his sidekick, who is old and beaten down due to his many years on the force. It also has a damsel, the young detective's wife, who's going through some tough times and is also pregnant. So she has a child in a way which makes her like innocent and like pure, because she has a child, so she has to protect like her child, but like the young detective doesn't know that she's pregnant, and she doesn't want to raise a child in such a crime-ridden setting, which is reinforced by all the killings that are done in the movie. Also, as the main, essentially the main antagonist, which makes the whole film, who is a criminally insane psychopath who kills for because of his belief of the 7 deadly sins from like the Bible and religion. And also the plot has different plot twists that causes for the plot of the movie to change, like for example when Doe, like the killer, gives himself up. Nobody was expecting that, nobody, and causes excitement and like shock amongst the audience. I also like the symbolism of the film, as it is centered around the 7 sins like in the Bible, and this creates fear because this affects our daily lives, because everyone at some age goes to like a church or during primary school where you taught about this kind of stuff, and it creates fear because, you know, at least one time in your life you will do something that goes against the teachings of the church, and killer going around like John Doe, killing people because they've done these sins, creates fear, because, you know, you might be the next one, even though the next thing you might have done might not be significant. I can also take inspiration from their costumes, like for example their costumes. And Mills's costume is classic of a detective because of his very informal yet like formal wear, because of his trench coat, and also Somerset's costume is similar in regards to his trench coat and also his fedora, which are the usual stereotypes of detectives. Also, the antagonists, like John Doe's costume, can also be seen like as going with the conventions of thriller films, because he's a psychopath. He has a shaved head, meaning like, which can infer that he's not like right, and his like fingerprints he like sandpapered off. And he's just a really like creepy demeanour, very calm, subtle, not really an outspoken person, and it creates fear because, you know, this could be anyone could be a person like this. So, like, your next door neighbour can be a serial killer even though you don't know it, like, yet. And this I can use this for inspiration for my antagonist and also protagonist, because, you know, the usual cop outfits can be used as an example, like, for inspiration, because, you know, it's a man in uniform, so a lot of people respect that, and a lot of people want to, you know, just follow a person in uniform, so it will create a lot of like interest in the main protagonist, because some of like if like shows that they have on the outside they might be good, but in the inside they might have some inner demons that causes for them to have a more rich and interesting backstory.